Hi, everybody. Bryan Norcross here with a late afternoon update on Hurricane Isaias. Some changes this afternoon at the 5 o'clock advisory from the National Hurricane Center. The cone is shifted a little closer to the Florida coast. That has prompted a hurricane watch for Broward County and a hurricane warning for points north. Hurricane watch meaning hurricane force winds gusting to 75 miles per hour or higher are possible, and a hurricane warning from the Palm Beaches north means hurricane force winds are expected. Let's look at where the storm is now and what is going on with it. And here we see Category 1 hurricane. The thing that we really are watching on this satellite sequence here is how well developed is the storm. If you look at the beginning of the sequence, you'll notice that most of the clouds kind of to the west of the center, there you can see through them. There's a lot of black you can see through there. But as the sequence goes, we see hurricane hunters were out there investigating it and found indeed an intensifying or organizing, intensifying isn't the right word, organizing storm with the idea that intensification is possible. In other words, it's kind of holding off the dry air to the west. But the important thing from a South Florida standpoint about this is it continues to be shaped in this big unbalanced way where the bad weather is way to the east and the amount of bad weather to the west, to the left of the center, is very small. So it has to come really close to us on if it's out in the ocean, it has to come really close to us for us to get the really bad weather on the left side of the storm. All right, here's the water vapor in the atmospheric moisture, and you see here all this dry air down to the southwest, and the general flow is pushing that dry air up into the circulation, and that's why the left side of it is eroded away. If you look outside in South Florida, we know we've had kind of milky skies. That's dust in the atmosphere, and that's reflected here in the amount of water vapor that's in the air. You see over here, this is moist, and here all around the storm, the greens and all are very moist. But with this flow going into the storm, that's what's eroding the left side, and which is a really good thing for extreme South Florida, because the storm, even if it comes close, has to get really close for us to get the strongest winds with the storm. We never really probably would get the strongest winds. So here's the thinking from the National Hurricane Center: just gradual intensification as it moves to the north. Now, every time you see an intensity forecast, you have to add 10 or 15 miles per hour to it in the first 24 hours. So this is 12 hours, this is 24 hours. So add 10 or 15 miles per hour. So up to 100 here would not be unexpected. 90-ish here would not be unexpected as it goes through the Bahamas. Remember the right side, remember the bad weather is way out here, so just keep that in mind. The bad weather way out on the extreme right side of the system. So keep that in mind in the Bahamas. All the populated islands in the Bahamas, unfortunately, are going to be affected by this storm. Now, when we get farther north, the Hurricane Center is thinking that the atmospheric conditions become a little less favorable here. They're basing that on the computer models that indeed weaken the storm, just kind of a consensus toward weakening, and that consensus has moved it farther to the left, closer to land. Thus, the whole cone has shifted closer to land. Thus, the possibility of having strong winds in Broward has increased, and in Miami-Dade has increased. But in Miami-Dade, the thinking is they stay in the tropical storm range. Now, here it is step by step. So this is the National Hurricane Center forecast. If the center goes down the middle of the cone and they get the size of the storm, the intensity of the storm about right. So here we are at 6 o'clock in the morning. We have a pretty good wind from the east-northeast coming off the ocean. You'll know about it early in the morning. In fact, tonight the breeze will begin to pick up. Now here we go through the morning hours and we go up to noon. Now the tropical storm force winds, the yellow here, they're right at the coast at about noon tomorrow. The hurricane force gusts in the orange are still offshore down by Andros, and the hurricane force sustained winds down by Andros Island. Notice the watches and warnings here. The greens mean tropical storm watch, in other words, a possibility of tropical storm force winds. But the inland parts of Miami-Dade County, Kendall on down to Homestead, notice they're farther away from this tropical storm wind envelope, so that's why they're in the possibility range. But the coastal parts of Miami-Dade County are in the probability range. That's why it's yellow there, tropical storm warning. When we get up into Broward County, tropical storm warning still, but the hurricane watch, the orange dips down right at the coast. So it's actually technically east of I-95. It's that little sliver, Broward County, east of I-95 for the tropical storm warning and the hurricane watch, because the idea is that the storm will be closer and this ocean wind coming in will be strong, and that's why they have that going in effect there for just little sliver in coastal Broward County and tropical storm warning in the rest of Broward County. Then farther north, you have hurricane warnings in effect. So here we go. Watch as it goes. Here we go at 6 p.m. tomorrow, estimating the hurricane force winds are just offshore, hurricane force gusts just offshore of North Broward and Palm Beach County at that time. That may be the peak winds in extreme North Broward, but in Miami-Dade County by that time, the winds are always switching around to come in from the west. Now the worst part of the storm moves north, but you see it coming right up to the coast there in the Treasure Coast and on up into the Space Coast. So that's why the hurricane warning is in effect there, because the storm, just because of the geometry of the coast and the track of the storm, the thinking is that the stronger part of the storm will move right up that coast, and they may have storm surge 2 to 4 feet of storm surge there, which can overwash some of the low-lying islands and do damage right at the coast. So this is another coastal tracker storm like Matthew, like Dorian, all these storms we've had recently that have gone right up the East Coast. Just a quick look at the models here to show you what I was talking about. Look at all the models in here, all these gray ones that are to the left of this main model, which is the red one here, which is what the cone is based on. You see the cone is mostly down the middle of the cone, the red one. Here's the edges of the cone right here, and the red one is more or less in the middle. But there are all these models here, and what they are forecasting is a weaker storm. So if they were to be right, we would have a weaker storm coming into Miami-Dade or Broward, but it would be weaker. So we would still have the right watches and warnings in place here. But the consensus model is it goes up like that, and then it moves up the East Coast. I mean, right along the East Coast, and that's where the National Hurricane Center forecast is. So this is a very healthy storm in the Northeast, along the Jersey Shore, along Long Island, up into coastal New England. This is going to require a significant thinking by emergency planners there in the Northeast and New England about whether they have to get vacationers, for example, off the beaches there, or what they're going to do to keep people safe. It's going to be a fast-moving storm. You see it's down here in the Carolinas on Monday afternoon. Tuesday afternoon, it's up at the Jersey Shore. And then Wednesday afternoon, it's already cleared Maine. So this is going to be hauling as it comes by here. And storms that move that fast tend to surprise people. So that could be a daunting problem. That's where we stand right now. We'll, of course, keep you up to date right here and on Local 10 in South Florida. And Local 10 News streams live and free on local10.com at any time. So be sure and check that out. All right, we'll see you with more later on. Thanks.